background noise, and I hope for my own children in the background aren't being too loud and disruptive as well. So mute yourself, please. And if you're not, I will make sure I will go in and do so. Again, you're allowed to have, or we encourage you to have your cameras on today. If you don't want to, you don't have to. We understand not everyone's always feels camera ready, or if you're having dinner or a snack right now, that's understandable. But we do hope that you let us see who you are so we can see who's enjoying tonight's workshop with us. Throughout the workshop, if you do have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. As I said, Kaylee and myself are monitoring the chat, and when there is the right time for a pause, we'll make sure that we ask Agnes that question that you have or a comment that you may have. But also, if you use the raise a hand feature, we can make sure we call on you too. I believe that is all that I can now think of off the top of my head for all the housekeeping things. So with that, I'm going to turn. Oh, and if you've just joined us as well, put your name in the chat as well as your role and organization so we know who is here with us tonight. So with that being said, I am going to turn it over to our speaker today, a lovely Miss Agnes from Turning Point. She's going to be taking over from here. Welcome, Agnes, and thank you.
Thank you, Anna, for the warm welcome, and thank you everybody for joining me for this workshop. When I picked this topic for this workshop because I think that there's a lot of things that I want to share with you about the benefits of long-term treatment and the recovery housing. That there's a lot of benefits that could be gained in this level of care. So Anna, if you could move to the next level, to the next slide. Can you go to the next slide, Anna?
Did it not switch?
I don't see it switch now. Do you?
Does it show ACM continuum? For others, did it switch? Yes.
I can see that.
Okay, so I have to switch it then.
Okay.
Okay, so I wanted to start with this slide because I wanted to show you a little bit of the levels of care here that are through the ASAM criteria continuum of care for adults addiction treatment. In this workshop, I want to focus on the level 3. The level 3 is the residential setting. So we will basically be talking about 3-1. And for those of you that may not be familiar with the ASAM, it's the American Society of Addiction Medicine, and it's like a multidimensional assessment that provides a common language of levels of care that someone may be placed, depending on what the person's needs are, depending on what their barriers are, levels of, stages of change. And this criteria right here provides, it's like a common language for assessing person's needs and describes the whole continuum of care. So you see from level 4 that it's the most high intense one, which is the inpatient, but it's the mostly for withdrawal, and then it goes to the residential. Now there's 3 different kinds of residential, but for the purpose of this workshop, I wanted to focus on 3-1, even though on the next slide, I will be talking a little bit about differences between short-term and long-term so that I could really show you guys what the benefits are in long-term 3-1 residential. Okay, we can go on. So our next slide, like I said, I wanted to do a quick comparison between short-term and long-term. So short-term, like I showed, it was the 3-5 level of care, and it's usually is anywhere from 14 to 28 days. And this level of care focuses, the clinical managed services are pretty high intensity, and it's both in residential. But the level of 3, and so the level of 3-5 is basically more higher intensity for people that may have more of like severe physical, psychological, severe functional impairment, difficult adjusting with like healthy daily routines. Um, so then long term, the 3-1 is, like I said, would be the focus of this workshop. And then that is the one that I want to talk about and what services and gains that are offered in this level. Like I said, this level of care provides a less intense um, clinical service managed. It's a lower intensity residential services, and it's anywhere from 30 to 60 days. And which that's more for people with the withdrawal risk is pretty low. The mental health and physical health are pretty stable, but this level of care is mainly for people that still require a structured environment to continue working on their recovery skills, to continue working on um, their high risk situations, behaviors, and stuff like that, but um, it's still in a residential structured setting. Was there a question?
There is a quick question. It is, when are the levels decided, at intake or later in treatments?
So the let's say for Oakland County, it's Oakland County, OCHN. So Oakland County is the screeners there are doing the assessment, and that's when they um, go ahead and depending on the person's needs, depending on their longevity of use, depending on any barriers, they're the ones that decide what level of care that person is needing at that time. So whether they are they could be referred to us for short term, which is up to 28 days, and then we then can transfer whether the person needs um, more services on a lower level. But then that's will be like down the road in my workshop of what long term really is, and they could be transferred to additional time here. But we get we take the referrals that are already um, they're referred by Oakland Access and Macomb Access as well. Um, did I answer your question? Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Um, so we're on the highlights of long-term services slide. Um, right, that's the one you guys all see. Okay, and then so I have it here how they branch out into various areas of life. So because long-term 3-1 has a lesser intensity of clinical services, then we have a lot more time and the day is structured for a lot of different services. So here's where I want to describe this level of care, and to someone who's now they're able to be safely moved from one level of care over to the next based on their needs. So this level of care benefits the person that has made progress but may need more additional help with achieving their goals into their recovery. The population in this level of care has a chance to continue working with problems, let's say implying their recovery skills, uh, chronic relapse pattern, lack of support, lack of connection to the community, homelessness, barriers with employment due to their substance use, coping skills, and overall an integration of recovery in a residential supportive environment. We can go on into the next one. So this one right here shows the services that are offered in a level 3 long-term residential. So the the clinical part is lesser here, but the groups still continue every day.
Oh, wait, I need
So
this card to roll it up too.
was that question? No? Okay. Um, so like I said, the person has the ability to continue receiving these services on a daily basis for a longer period of time in a safe environment. So they continue to have daily groups. Counselors, support staff are still on site 24/7. Um, and then the peer services. With the peer services here, they can change a little bit from short-term goals are a little goals are mainly on treatment, whereas in this level of care, peer services can sometimes look like okay, helping with getting a birth certificate, getting an ID, um, getting reconnected with some kind of schooling, whether they want some educational um, resources or resume building, interview skills, like things like that, that is geared towards going and living independently um, on their own. Um, and then, like I said, the support from peers, and then obviously the peers that have got, that have gone through the same thing in their own personal life, so they could relate. So the case manager part, the case management services here now also do have a lot of benefits, because here's where a person can, what, like I said, it branches out to a lot of different areas of life, because um, here's where a person has a chance to take care of some of their medical issues, whether, they can make medical appointments, take care of, sometimes teeth, the coordination of care for mental health is big here, because sometimes that tends to, once the chances of someone continuing with their mental health outpatient sometimes are pretty slim when someone leaves treatment. So they continue that coordination of care while they're still in a structured environment. So that sometimes that just the time in itself um, helps someone become a little bit more open to working with services like that, and opening with mental health, which is a, a, a big part of substance use, can, or I mean, doesn't have to be, but it can be. Um, and then, like I said, with the case management, it's also starting to work on housing, starting to, helping somebody with looking for jobs, writing resumes, and now trying to teach someone how to maybe, prepare somebody for an interview. And then they could start to set up interviews. And that is something that is continuously supported by staff, and they're still in a structured environment where they can continue to do so. And then, like the meetings still continue every single day in this level of care, which um, helps the people just continue with those services. So on the next slide is where a lot of the main benefits of this care, and then of this continuum of care, is a lot of it is on that, like focusing on strengthening relationships with with peers to build a strong support system. Now, whether that would be with a sponsor or a recovery coach, or sometimes with family members, sometimes with people and different, like a mental health provider. So that sometimes just the time in itself can strengthen that part. Um, our people just continue to maintain stability with the structure because the residential is still a structured, safe environment, that they continue to every day, um, just throughout just the daily routine, just through the daily structure of the day, um, the stability gains a little bit, and they become more apt to get into their routine that they can then continue to carry on by themselves. Sustaining accountability with continuous guidance. So, still the requirements of, you know, uh, drug tests and all that kind of stuff is keeping them, helps to keep people accountable, with still the guidance of everybody that's on staff with a 24-hour structured environment, which could potentially lessen the risk of returning to old behaviors. And by staff and the support system here, and the peer support and everything that's they could take advantage of in this level of care, could reinforce some positive habits that they can continue to build as they go on. Now the biggest one, now you can go back to, or you can go into the next one. This one right here, I believe, is the biggest one, with where it says integration and treatment and learning recovery skills. I believe that in short term, the person can learn a lot, can get a lot of help and a lot of clinical, but sometimes learning and applying, um, are two different things. And then I feel like in this setting and in this level of care, they really have the chance to learn and apply their recovery skills, whether that would be their coping skills, their craving and urges, and the ways the way we cope with them can help. Now, the next one, when is the employment, and the employment part, being able to start and be able to work in still this residential level of care, I think is a big benefit. Not only, we have people that have not worked in about 15 years. I was just walking to the office back here, and I had a girl that just says, "Oh my God, I'm starting a new job tomorrow." And she was so excited, and she said, "I haven't worked in 10 years, or I had a job here and there, um, but I kept on losing it because of my use." And so she's able to start going to work. And it could be like that with a lot of people. If there's a long history of use and you haven't worked for 10 years, going back from treatment and just going back to the same old environment sometimes could be very hard. And I think that with the employment part is a big part of that, because it helps you transition into society still in a structured, prolonged environment. I've had clients that had, go from tend to go from 0 to 100. So where, you finish treatment, and clients want to just, okay, I have to I have to fix my life. I have to go be there with my kids. I have to do this and I have to do that. And then it's only a matter of time before we burn ourselves down, and recovery comes back on the back burner, and people start to work and go into that direction where we need to find that balance in between still working, but still having recovery. And I think that in this level of care, they have a chance to do that because they can go and have a job, but then return. And whether something happened and they get to work on something here that they may have not thought that could have been a trigger or something like that, where we could still help with gaining awareness. Okay, what is it? What is it that I'm doing out there that that could potentially help me? So you could still do that. And I think that the balance between that is something really important. And I feel like it could allow a smoother recovery process for people, and especially for people that, maybe homeless, maybe the use has been so long that just treatment back to environment is not something that's beneficial for them. It's not something that's going to create a better quality of life. So they have to do a little bit, baby steps. And they're able to do the baby steps here because they're able to come back and say, okay, here's where I need the help that I didn't know. Now, if they were on the outside, gaining help or outpatient, I mean, it could be that it is something that's possible, but here having it on staff and having it like, here's what happened, or going through all of it and having the support 24/7 is, I think, a big benefit of this level of care. So learning routine while having supportive environment, we all know that sometimes that could be hard for any of us to learn routine. So this level of care gives people a chance to give some time for adjustment. Um, they can obviously have financial improvement, life skills improvement, whether it be time management, whether it be coping skills, whether it's so many different things that depending on, I mean, it's case by case, it's a person-centered treatment. So it depends on what the barriers are, it depends on what the problems are, it depends on what triggers may be. And it's something that they can work on while they are still in a very structured and safe environment. Any questions so far? No? Okay. If we can go to the next one. And there's our recovery homes. So after, like I said, 30 and 60 days, if a person is ready and has completed all of their goals in this level of care, they can then step down for a recovery home. And through Oakland County, they could be in the recovery home anywhere from 60 to 90 days. And that could serve as a stepping stone for individuals transitioning from treatment to independent living. So they have another step where they have a lot of time, where they're a little bit on there by themselves, but they're not by themselves. They're still structured and they're still monitored. But they get to be in an environment where they could continue to work. They can continue to, they could start to mend maybe different family issues, maybe different, different support systems, but still being in a recovery home that would benefit them in the long run before they go off and completely be in the independent living with just outpatient. So, so like I said, yep, that could, they could still do a lot of that stuff. And the biggest benefit here is that it's a safe and sober environment. So if we go to the next one, okay. So the benefits of a recovery home is that it's a structured living. So what it does is that it offers a safer environment where residents can focus on their recovery in the sober place. There's rules and routines that are present, which still continue to promote accountability. So you are still being monitored. You are still being, so you're doing you're living your life. You're beginning to work. You're beginning to build your support system. You're beginning to learn where the meetings are, depending what area you're in. You're starting to find uh, like-minded people. You're the support system in those homes, which I'm going to the next one, is the peer support helps build healthy support systems. So even, with there's house meetings there, and I think the biggest benefit of that in those house meetings is where residents can share their experiences and support one another in their journeys. So let's say someone is having a hard time, and it's there's so many different people in that home that could be going through, so is either something similar, or um, or just be there for support, because all of those people in that home have the same goal. And even though they're going through different struggles, but they could be there for one another, they could help one another. Um, and in fact, just helps for them to build healthy support systems. And then another big thing here is that the required outpatient therapy services is still there. So because it's required, so a person has to continue going to either groups or one-on-ones in this home. So the timing of it, where I said it's like up to 90 days, chances of someone going when they're required in that safe environment like that, I think that the chances of them going are higher than they would just maybe be on their own. So like I said, in this setting for this whole time is you're learning, and then you're applying. So everything that you have learned, you could have learned in short term, long term. So everything that you have learned, you can now start to apply, and really apply in an everyday realistic life. And then so just like, value of your life skills, and that which in turn will start to build confidence in their ability to remain sober and live independently. Um, then they're continuously learning how to cope with their triggers. They're continuously applying the coping skills that they have learned, because like I said before, you're knowing what you have to do, but then doing it can sometimes be two different things. So I think that in this setting, all those benefits are helping a person go from, okay, everyday use, even for a long time or whatever it may be, that it gives them a long time to be able to have a better quality of life. And then it also, this the same in the same way, this is also person centered. So whenever they do feel that they are ready to move on, as either to their own place, back to their own place, or whether they get their own apartment, if they were. So anywhere from, so here at Turning Point, anyway, if there's someone that does short-term, long-term, and recovery home, a lot of the, I mean, it's close to 6 months. So that's kind of, that's a good chunk of time for someone to, um, to just have that chance to get back on the right track, or just, even if it's in the beginning of their use, it's just a good time, good time frame of things that are offered and all the benefits that are, all the services that are offered that they can benefit from. And I think that all of those benefits just can lessen the risk of relapse and promote long-term recovery. I think in the nutshell of both of those levels of like the short term, and then if someone does decide to go into the recovery home, I think that that could really minimize the high risk behaviors, high risk situations and environments, and then in order to have a higher chance of remaining sober and healthy. Is there any questions?
Looks like, excuse me, looks like we're good.
I have a question, everybody.
Hi, Sherry.
Mary?
So, Agnes, what do you think the biggest challenge is for individuals in a recovery home environment? What are you seeing with your recovery home, individuals who are in your recovery homes, and what is their biggest challenge, and how does staff address that?
I think the biggest challenge for them, I think that would be that they don't. It's like if they start to work and then they may not want to. It's they kind of go back and forth, and that's where you know our house managers and um, come and come all together. I think it's just a matter of getting them used to like an everyday structure that you have to continue. And that you have to continue, and that sometimes it takes a long time, and it's a very, I think it's a very tough thing to um, get used to right away. And that's where I feel like the house meetings and the support and the positive feedback, and I think that people just could sometimes go. I think the barrier sometimes is like a lot of people don't have any support, and they don't have a lot of family sometimes, and that can sometimes just feel like, okay, well, nobody really cares, and so I think that the support of one another there, I think that's the biggest thing. I think that it's, if there's like issues or if someone's struggling, it's very easy to just say, okay, nope, I gotta go, I don't even want the help, I have to go. And that is, I think, the biggest thing is us trying to get the people all together, and then get the structure together, and then just help support one another, and help making sure that they do go to their outpatient therapy, and that way they do go to their meetings. So sometimes that could be something that can come up.
Okay, thank you.
There was, excuse me, another question, and it asks, is there any special personnel who monitors all their activities?
All of our staff, like you in a recovery home or in where are we talking about the recovery home, or are we talking about the residential?
I'm going to guess, based on when this question was asked, that we're talking about the recovery house, but I'm not 100% sure. So in the recovery house, they just come and take in the
So
recovery
yes,
house.
it's the recovery managers, it's the recovery house managers that monitor all of the stuff. They have a sign in and out sheet. They know where they're going. They verify whether they have done all of their meetings. They verify that they have gone to their outpatient therapy, signing in and out for work, house meetings, drops, And I think, yeah, so it's someone is always inside the home that monitors all the activities. Yes. You're welcome. Any other questions?
Agnes, this is Sherry. Did you address challenges when individuals may use while being in the recovery house, and how substance use or alcohol use is addressed with residents who reside in the homes?
So what we usually, if someone starts to, if someone starts to drink or use, which if they, they're being constantly monitored and they're being drug tested. So it's like a case by case, but a lot of the times is we intervene with going and transferring to, we're taking to common ground, that that person says I need to go back into treatment. So that's how that's addressed. Our house manager will let us know. Then it's like our team kind of decides, okay, this is something that, is this like something that you just slipped, or is this something that you just need more help with? Do you need to go back? Like if they start to drink, and obviously if they start to drink at home and if they bring it there, that's an automatic, like we have to, we're then taking back to common ground, and we're the ones that usually transport. Now if someone doesn't want the help. But no, I mean, that's something that could potentially risk everybody else at home. So no, they don't stay there, so that they have to go into, and then we make sure that we facilitate the process of transferring them back to is either common ground or SSU, so that they could then get screened for, do they go back into treatment, or um, and then they go back to the common ground, or the access will screen them again.
Okay, and just for individuals who are on the call, when you say common ground, you're referring to the sober support unit and
Yes,
those SUD services that are imported at common ground for access to services and higher level of care. So you're not speaking of common ground mental health services, you're speaking of the
SSU.
sober support unit. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay,
yes. Thank
okay.
you.
I just
Yes,
wanted that clarified for the group.
yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes. Thank you, Sherry. Yes, yes. I do mean the SSU. Now, sometimes we do have something that comes where it is an issue with someone struggling with their mental health. So we usually the first contact would be their mental health provider, to see what kind of, like, whether they need something that like a med adjustment. We get into contact with the case manager with their mental health, and if something obviously occurs where it is a mental health, then that would be common ground. So yes, I did specify the use. So yes, the SSU would be for the substance use services, and the common ground for mental health. Any other questions?
I have a question. So once they go back to the SSU, do they come back to the house like after 30 days, or do they go to another home, or how
So
do
they
that?
so it depends. It might depend on uh, the longevity of use wouldn't be long if it's from a recovery home. But our requirements for the recovery home are the 28 days that they have to remain sober. So chances are that they would go back into treatment. Now, that probably might have not been a short term, but it could be still a long term, that wherever they deem whatever the drug is. So after treatment, after they complete the treatment and they do have the 28 days sober and they seem to be stable for that level for the recovery house, and they would return it. They would be put back on a list and then they would transfer back to the recovery home.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Do you guys have any questions, any comments?
I can
That was
say
a
this is really good information.
Thank you.
And it was a really good overview of the ASAM level of care, in alignment with what services are provided per level of care.
Thank you. So the next, I think I just put our information. I think, I mean, I'm think that we might be the only one that does long-term in Oakland County. And I think that's why I wanted to pick the topic. Not only because that, but it is because I do feel very strongly that after short term, a lot of people do benefit from the short term and the recovery home. And I really do believe that the amount of time that is given and the amount of time that Oakland County does fund for, which is OCHN, I do think that it gives someone a better chance to be able to start their life, or to be able, girl was just saying to me today, saying, it's hard. It's hard to leave treatment and just go right back to where I came from. How, okay, I want to be sober, but I don't know how. I don't know how to be sober. So I think that long term in the recovery home really helps people. It takes a little bit. We have to do something on a daily basis to gain a structure, to gain a routine. Even if, for us, like if we want to start to, okay, I'm gonna example of exercise. I mean, if it's something we want to do we really want to do it? No. But if you start to do, like, if you're required to do it, and let's say you're in an environment where you have to do it every day, then you know what, chances are greater that you might want to do it. So it's just, I think that overall, I think the timing that's offered, I think that that's the biggest thing here, is that it creates the structure. There's in a structured environment for a prolonged time, for an extended time. And that in itself, I think builds their ability to cope, whether with cravings, with urges, with coping skills for mental health, because we coordinate with both. So they come here for substance use, but we also coordinate with all of their mental health provider. So we do both. So I think that, once sometimes it's such a big difference between somebody that I see that comes to us for short term, and I see them leaving, recovery home. Sometimes I feel like, oh my God, it's like two different people. And they're happier and they're healthier. And they said, it's like now I feel like I have something that I can go off of. Now I can continue this. I've had time to learn it day by day. Now, I don't know if a lot of you work or maybe have worked in a residential, but our clients are going to learn patience whether they want to or not, because there's a lot of stuff going on here. Residential can be, they could be pretty intense. So I always say, you know what, listen, if you just went through this and you got through this and you got through this sober, you can maybe go through a lot of things. So what was the question? I didn't see the question.
Do you take Medicare?
We don't know.
And then also too, Agnes, I think that it goes without saying that I've seen often enough where individuals served have completed Turning Point, all levels of care, have gone on to get peer certification and all of that goodness. And then they return and you guys hire them.
And I have a lot. I have quite a few. I do. I have quite a few that actually have gone into being a peer. And then after a peer, they went into getting their development plan. And I have few that have actually ended up being counselors. So yes, yep, yep.
So
There's,
that's our mantra, right? Treatment works.
yes,
Treatment
yeah.
works.
Treatment works. Oh, treatment works. And and here in our, in our setting, we do have a majority of our staff is in recovery. And I think that is a big benefit to the people served, because sometimes it's, my God, if you did it, I can do that, and they're seeing it, that they're seeing, it's not like something that we're telling them in the books. No, you have a person here that has gone through the same thing that you are going through. And, someone's standing there saying, I sat in your seat and now I am your peer coach. Recovery works. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Actually, a lot of our staff says that if I can do it, anybody can do it. So, I think that actually gives a lot of hope, because they see it right there. That's realistic hope. We can tell them all we want from books. We can tell, but they see it right there. It works. Recovery works. And so, yes, they do. They go through. You're right. They finish, and yes, a lot of them end up as our staff. Yep. And they're doing very well. Any other questions?
There is just comments that's wonderful to hear, and that someone took one of the courses, that it's just to see that transition, I think, for individuals to make that, and it is wonderful. And I'm glad we were able to talk about long term, because of a lot of people only are aware of short term, and with some private insurance but limitations and things, and only hear about the fancy like Malibus and Californias where you can stay for 6+ months on end. So to know the local community resource that does allow that, and it is an option, and it's truly a blessing that everyone can afford to have that time dedicated to that. But you said it allows a little bit more freedom with structure and things of that nature as they're growing, and it's a unique feature that we get to have and we get to offer.
Mhm.
I appreciate that as well. Oh, so that's their story too, that they got their CPSS and CPRC now, LMSW and CAADC. Great
Oh, wow.
job.
Good for you. See, so now we see. Did you go through a long term? No, I'm kidding. But now we see that. Look, that it works, and you can do a lot in this field. And I always do say, people that are in recovery say, you don't know what you actually could do. Do you know how much benefit that you can? You don't know that if someone can relate to you this way, and you're a counselor, and they can relate to you on that level, that can sometimes that could be more than anything that they read in books, or they have somebody that's like realistically in front of them that has lived that life, and that gives them so much hope. And so, yes, I think the staff, I do believe that the people that we serve do feel very comfortable going to any of our staff because they do know it's like, hey, what did you do? They can ask very, very personal and realistic questions that they might actually be afraid to ask or be ashamed to ask. So they have that connection that they know that a lot of our staff and a lot of our peers and a lot of our counselors will understand. And that sometimes is a big barrier for people with substance use because stigma and we don't want to say anything and we don't want to ask and we're going to be looked down upon. And no, we actually turn around for strength, courage. When I see people returning, I always see the faces like, they look at me and I said, hey, do you know how much strength it took for you to return here? You're still fighting, you're still alive, and we're going to do this again. So, um, do you have another question?
Question, but unfortunately, we don't have big answers for it. It says is there anywhere a mother with children can go for recovery housing in Oakland County? If it's within Oakland County, we do not have one specifically under OCHN that's within Oakland County. But there are other providers that are outside of, there's some houses within Macomb County or St. Clair County or Genesee County that do have that ability right now. Any other questions or comments or thoughts about recovery housing or long-term treatment?
I see that Naomi's Nest. I believe Naomi's Nest is in Flint, I want to say.
That one I don't know.
Genesee County, I believe.
Genesee.
But I'm not sure though whether they take I'm not sure whether they take children though. I don't. Yeah, I believe that it's in Flint. I believe that it's in Genesee County.
Oh, Detroit, you're saying.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
shouldn't say not in Oakland County. I should say there's always Grace Centers of Hope. They you have to go through their program, and they do have, if you graduate their program, they do have recovery housing, which you have to go through. At least they used to have if you went through their program, but that's not OCHN funded.
Yes, and Grace Centers of Hope program, before you would be considered for recovery housing services, is a 1-year commitment.
Yes.
They have to go through that 1 year. It's like a transit.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what they call it, the center, transition center. But they can be there with their children though.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can be there for 1 year. And then after that, they're eligible for being in one of their homes,
Mm-hmm.
aftercare homes. I think that's what they call it, aftercare homes. Mm-hmm.
Other thoughts, questions, comments?
Do you have any that take Medicaid?
What's that?
Do any of them take Medicaid?
Medicaid in here? Yes. Yes, we do. Yep. And that all of our people go through Oakland Access, and that's, yes, Medicaid is, yep.
And for the person who asked the question, OCHN is the fiduciary for Oakland County residents with Medicaid who are seeking services. And as Agnes stated, they would contact Access. Anna, you can type Access's
I was just
number
about to,
in the chat, and
6363.
then that person would be screened and referred for services. So again, OCHN is the fiduciary for MDHHS for screening and referring all Oakland County residents with Medicaid for treatment services.
Oh, Tridina.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh my
Hi,
God.
Agnes.
Oh my God. Hi.
And that is the
Oh, you are
access
so
director. Trudina, show your face.
I
Say
know.
hello.
I want to see you. Where are you?
I'm
Hi
right here. Hi.
for joining me. Hi,
Yep.
Shay. Look at that. Oh, I
We're here. We're here.
I appreciate you guys. Well, we would not be here without these ladies. These ladies are awesome. They are, oh my God, they are helping us with everything. Sometimes when I get emails, I get, oh my God, what do we do now? But they are such a big help. So OCHN really does such a great job in for all of their providers. They do. I could not have any better words to say for a as they treat their providers. The way they treat their providers is awesome. So I really do appreciate you guys and everything that you do for us.
And we appreciate you all and our other providers that are on. I see Stephanie's giving some shout outs in the
I know.
chat.
Hi,
Thank
Stephanie.
you. Yes, thank you. We are all one big team.
And Stephanie, so that's another can I say I will, but I will say it because Stephanie and I we collaborated where so that's another thing that our collaboration with mental health providers, we strive on that. That's a very big part of of us. So the minute somebody comes in and they're not connected, that's upon intake. Um, so with Stephanie was so nice that we collaborated. We actually have a peer coach, Samantha, that comes here once a week and that she meets with all of our people. And then so whether they need to get connected, whether they just need to have set appointments. And so with all of our like transports and stuff, like that's just been such a beautiful service for us. I cannot thank you guys enough because when Sam comes, she gets bombarded by everybody, by all of our counselors. This one needs to be seen and this one needs to be seen. And so no, Stephanie and that they've been a great team and they've been a great help for us. That is such a great help.
Yeah, thank you for welcoming us in over the last couple of years. It's been awesome.
Yes, thank you so much.
I think all the connections here really show that it's no matter the level of care, it's really about our collaborations, right? These workshops are so beautiful and so important to have. And I love being able to host to see everyone saying hi, but also to show how does it's just the wheel of spokes and how do the spokes all connect with the person in the middle. And we're all here to help and to assist in how we all help and assist and connect in different ways and to learn more about each other because we're all here doing it together. And so having the ability to focus on even with different programs at different times, you're learning about it so you know how to make referrals and ask the questions and the statements and it just brings out our beautiful community every single time and I love it.
Mhm.
Love that.
Yep.
Love.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we
Let's take the village.
so oh, sorry, I think someone said something.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, so we have Sam. So I'm a supervisor at Easter Seals Mork, and we have Sam who goes to Turning Point every week, and then we have another peer who goes to Eastwood every week. So Henry Ford Eastwood. And so yeah, that all came from me attending one of these trainings last year that the manager over there
Mhm.
runs. So it was
Beautiful.
cool.
Yeah, and then
Yay.
yeah, what is it like a year later, right? But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
for a while, yeah. And she comes every single week. And then we also have Mac on Mondays that comes to do our groups, and then Mac
Oh
is
yeah.
Southfield location of Easter Seals. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're everywhere.
You're everywhere. Yeah. But I think it's so important that every provider and then every that we know each other this way, because there's so many people that come up with different things and will say, okay, we can't. I think that that person would benefit from another service or another, and us knowing, and then what we provide, and what every place provides and what kind of services they provide. I think it's so I think it's just so amazing. And I actually want to say, because it just made me think of when we were talking about Sam coming, we also have a recovery mobile clinic come every Monday. We also collaborate with, that is what they're called, recovery mobile clinic. And it's like an RV. Um, it's actually an RV that comes in to our place every Friday. And they do so many different medical services, and because we're not medical, so that is such a big help for us. So from TB testing to vaccine to, if someone comes and they're out of their medication, but it's going to take a minute to connect with, let's say, their mental health provider or CNS, or just going to take a week or two, and then it's like a gap in time where they know what they were on, so that they could just kind of prescribe until the provider can see them, and then they stop. But it's such a big, somebody that came from, came from jail, and so they don't have a PCP. A lot of our people, we assist with connecting to a primary care physician. Chances of everybody having one, no, they don't have one. So but you know how that goes. I mean, that does take time. You have to first make the, appointment, intake, and all of that. So sometimes that takes time. But someone with, with a medical condition of a high blood pressure, you need those medications for that right away. So that's such a big help in that we do have that. If we find the need for it, then it comes in handy. Anything for lab, anything like that comes, that is medical. With Jordana is the CEO of that, and she's a nurse practitioner that can prescribe so kind of stuff. So before we connect a person with a primary, because that's our goal. The goal is to connect them with a primary care physician, and all of the the places they will continue to go to. But in the meantime, for a minute before we can get them there, sometimes a week to be out of, let's say, seizure medications. No, that's not good. So that's when the recovery mobile clinic come. It's a big, big, big help for us, and we appreciate everything that they do for us. They have been great. So it helps us help a lot of the people that we serve. So, any questions, concerns, comments?
Any other ones?
Oh,
Mm,
40 people. Thanks
so
so much.
there's thank
Welcome.
yous.
You're welcome, Stephanie.
But I'm glad that's also took time to help and highlight the coordination, that there really can be lots of coordination that can occur for someone in long-term treatment or in recovery housing, and then that maybe there might be a deterrence for some individuals served that you might work with, that they're worried about that they can't make certain appointments or things of that nature, and knowing that that is still important and it's taken into consideration, and it's learned there are ways to work with it and to make sure that all needs are addressed. And so highlighting that, Agnes, I think was a beautiful thing to be done today too.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. And thank you. You guys are too kind here with with the comments. Thank you.
Agnes, I joined a little late. Did you share with the group how many recovery homes you have?
There's 5. I know I did not. 5. Wait, because you know what? A female home is like 10. No, there's one female home and 4 males. So we can house up to 10 females and 22 males in our recovery homes. And the recovery homes are very close to here. So a lot of the stuff, a lot of because a lot of barriers, transportation. So very close to a lot of places that hold meetings that they can walk to, on a transportation, like a public transportation route, if they go to work. So very convenient for people because it's also close that, a lot of times it's walkable and we're very close on, we're actually on the line for the public transportation. Um, so yeah, so 10 females and 22 males that we can house.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you. Good question. I didn't think about that.
Any other thoughts, questions, comments? You've done great with the questions and comments so far. We have a few more minutes if anyone does.
You're welcome, you guys. You guys are
All
so
right.
nice. But
That
thank
was
you.
great.
Thank you. That was, I mean, very good comments, very good feedback. I'm glad I did it.
We're
Carrie,
glad you
I
did
don't
too.
know. I don't know how, I don't know. I got kind of into this. I'm doing this, but this was good. I like this because it's, putting sometimes putting names with the faces, because we do
Mhm.
talk a lot of times we do talk to, facilities and people on the phone, and you know them, but you don't. So now putting a face to a name actually does help too. So thank you, you guys. Thank you guys for such kind words.
And then lots of thank yous coming in. Glad you did it too. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, you guys can keep the thank yous rolling in and saying all the kudos. We will keep Agnes just reading those away.
Wow.
And so let it enjoy in it because you did a great job.
I'm
And
so
then
fat.
here in a minute, I will put in the evaluation link for everyone who was here with us. So again, thank you all for attending for today. As always, we're going to put the link here in the chat for you to complete the evaluation. This is open until noon tomorrow. I will also send this out in an email as well, just in case you're